everyone, it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to bring you my April wrap up. Very late. So in April, the Owls were taking place and I was going for Hogwarts Professor, and in order to get that I had to pass 7 Owls, including a subject that I wanted to teach, Defense Against the Dark Arts, and then 5 additional subjects of my choice. And I also was going for Animagus training and Dragon Tamer training, where I had to read a book with a dragon in it. And as you can see, I finished all 12 of my Owls, plus the Dragon Tamer training and the Animagus training. I'm very happy with myself. The first book I read this month was Last Pen Standing by Vivian Conroy. This was an e-arc that I got from NetGalley, and it was also the book club pick of the month for the Cozy Mystery Book Club. And this is a cozy mystery series set in a stationery shop in Montana. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was super cute, a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to reading the next book in the series. Next, I read The Cracked Spine by Paige Shelton. This was another cozy mystery, and it was set in a bookstore in Scotland, and I listened to this on audiobook. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I read Unmarriageable by Sonia Kamal. This is Pride and Prejudice set in Pakistan. And I do have a full spoiler-free review for this, so I will link it, but I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. And then I actually was in a mood where I just wanted fast, nostalgic reads that I didn't really have to think about, that weren't heavy. So I ended up starting to reread my Nancy Drew books, because this was my favorite book series when I was a kid. So I read The Secret of the Old Clock, 4 stars. The Hidden Staircase, 5 stars. The Bungalow Mystery, 5 stars. The Mystery at Lilac Inn, 4 stars. The Secret of Shadow Ranch, 4 stars. The Secret of Redgate Farm, 4 stars. The Clue in the Diary, 3 stars. Nancy's Mysterious Letter, 3 stars. The Sign of the Twisted Candles, 4 stars. Password to Larkspur Lane, 4 stars. The Clue of the Broken Locket, 4 stars. And The Message in the Hollow Oak, 3 stars. I also read the Tea Dragon Society, and I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. And that was a reread for me. It's just such a cute, wholesome graphic novel, so I definitely recommend it for anybody. I also read Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This was a reread for me, and I absolutely adored it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Pride and Prejudice is still my favorite Jane Austen book so far, but I'm still need to complete my reread of the rest of her works, so we'll see if that changes. Next, I read Foul Play at the Fair by Shelley Fredo. This is a Celebration Bay cozy mystery series, and this was so cute. It was set in New York, follows a party planner or an event planner, and there's a murder. She gets involved in the investigation to save her reputation and the town's main source of income, the tourists. And I really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I just thought it was a really fun, fast-paced, engaging cozy, and it was very realistic. Next, I read Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars, a Dangerous Trans Girl's Confabulous Memoir by Kai Cheng Tom. And this was so different than what I was expecting. It's a memoir, and it was actually so many things. It was funny, it was harrowing, shocking, and I loved it so much because from the cover, it just made it feel like maybe I wouldn't relate to the author and the protagonist in this book, but there were so many moments in here that I just felt like I related so much to the author. And there were so many shocking moments in here. I listened to the audiobook and I actually found myself in a couple of places like stopping the audiobook so I could go back and reread a section, because I was like, did I hear that correctly? But I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good and so educational, and I think it's a really important book. And I really love it. And the blurb on the back says it all. At once a love letter and challenge to the traditional transgender memoir, Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars is a playful, surrealist dance through queer coming of age. And that's just so perfect for this book. Next, I read Beaches, Bungalows, and Burglaries by Tanya Capps. This was for the Cozy Escape book club, and I listened to it on audio. I gave it 3 stars. I felt like it was just okay. There were a few plot holes that bothered me, and I didn't really feel like it was anything new or exciting, and I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series, unfortunately. Next, I read Mooncakes by Wendy Zhu and Suzanne Walker. I love this graphic novel so much. I got an e-arc last year, I think, and I loved it so much that my mom bought this for me for my birthday, and I've read it 3 times now. But the artwork is really pretty, and it's got so much good rep in here. People of color, transgender, queer, hard of hearing rep, and it's so magical and wonderful and such a cute graphic novel. Every time I read this, it just makes me happy, and I recommend this to everyone, and this is making me want to reread it again, but it's just so good. Please do yourself a favor and pick it up. I obviously gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's just magical and wonderful, and go read it. Next, I read Brownies and Broomsticks by Bailey Cates, and this was another book club pick for the Cozy Mystery Book Club. This was actually the April book, and this is set in a magical bakery, and it's got witches in it and baking, and it's such a fun cozy. I just really like this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I listened to it on audiobook, which the narrator was really good, and I am definitely continuing on with the series. As soon as I finished this, I bought the next book so I could just dive right in. And then I read Murder in Galway by Carleen O'Connor. This is the first book in the Galway, Ireland mystery series, and excuse the sticker, but how picturesque and cozy is that cover? Like, it made me want to go back to Ireland so bad. This was so good. The protagonist goes back to Ireland in order to spread her mother's ashes after her death, and she is kind of looking for her mother's estranged brother, and it turns out he's kind of possibly involved in some nefarious activities. I thought it was a really realistic cozy, and it actually was so well written, and I really connected with the characters. It left me just wanting the next book in the series because I loved it so much. So I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Moose and Murder by Elizabeth Logan. The Kraken is here. But this was also an e-arc from NetGalley. It's the first book in the Alaskan Diner mystery series, and I really enjoyed it. I have never read a cozy mystery set in Alaska before, and I loved seeing the culture and how they have to adapt to the weather and how that affected their mystery investigation. And I loved the diner setting. It wasn't cheesy, it was just really kind of funky and unique. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely going to continue on with the next book in the series once it comes out. I finally read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I flew through this book. I read it physically and I loved it. I thought I would like it, but I didn't realize I'd fall in love with it. The writing is just so easy to get into. It's very accessible and it's very fast paced and not overly complicated. I'm really sad that I waited this long to read it because I loved it. And I'm really glad that I don't have to wait for the sequels because they're all out and I own all of them. So I'm going to get on that. But this was one of the books that I listed in my 20 books that I wanted to read this year, so I can check that off my list. Next, I read The Test by Sylvain Nouvelle. This was a short story or novella that I read for the BookTube SFF Awards, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, and I do go more in depth in my thoughts in my wrap-up video for that, so I will link it. I also read Clammed Up by Barbara Ross. It was the first book in the main Clam Bake Mystery series, and I really liked it. Anything set in Maine has my heart already, and I really enjoyed the mystery, and I loved hearing them talk about the seafood and the water and just everything just quintessentially Maine. The one complaint I had was it was almost 400 pages, which is really long for a cozy. Normally cozy mysteries are between like 290 and 330 pages. So this one I felt like it could have been a little bit shorter, but I still really enjoyed the story, and I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars. Lucy, if you knock over this stuff, we're gonna have words. You want your fans to see you? Yeah? She's purring. You want your fans to see ya? Next, I read The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. It's a short story, so I won't go into what it is, and it's a classic, so you probably already know anyway. I remember when I was younger when I read it, Edgar Allan Poe is one of the first classic authors I got into, and I think before I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, but now that I'm older, I didn't enjoy it quite as much. I can appreciate it for what it did, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was just okay. Next, I read To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. This was also on the Short Works nominee list for the BookTube SFF Awards, and I do go into that in my wrap-up as well, but I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. It stuck with me. I still think about it a lot, so I highly recommend. And finally, this made Cheyenne so happy. I finally read Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. It was so good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And I switched between the physical book and the audiobook. The audiobook is really good. The narrator's phenomenal. And I really like Mark Lawrence's writing style. He grabbed me from the beginning. His opening, like the prologue, was so poetic without being overly flowery, and the way he worded it was so interesting that I wanted more. And this ended on such a good note. So I immediately bought the second and third book in the series, and I'm going to read those. But I do highly recommend this. It is totally worth the hype. And I've heard that the books just keep getting better as the series goes on, and this is already a fantastic book. So I really loved it. And it's got magical nun assassins. Like, what more could you want? So for my ancient runes, I read Telltale Heart. For arithmancy, I read Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars. For astronomy, I read Moose and Murder. For care of magical creatures, I read Clammed Up. For charms, I read Red Sister. Defense Against the Dark Arts, I read Murder in Galway. Divination, I read A Darker Shade of Magic. Herbology was Mystery at Lilac Inn. History of Magic was Brownies and Broomsticks. Muggle Studies was The Cracked Spine. Potions was The Test. Transfiguration was Mooncakes. Dragon Tamer training was the Tea Dragon Society. And then for Animagus training, I had to pass arithmancy, potions, and transfiguration, which I did. How did you do on your owls? Let me know down below. And as always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.